Welcome to the People, Passion, and Purpose podcast, where you will hear from creative small business owners in the trenches every single day, talking story, talking lessons, talking failures, talking truth. I'm your host, Nina L. Kovner. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome, Tracy Ftacek, to the podcast. Tracy is a salon owner, a business leader, an educator, and founder of the pretty convenient on-demand beauty app. Oh my God, I can't wait to hear about that. Tracy, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Nina. Thank you so much for bringing me to your podcast today.
Thank you for being here. So I have a ton of questions, so let's dive right in. When did you become a salon owner, and more importantly, why?
All of my coaches and mentors were really amazing. And in about 2010, I decided that it was time for me to create a culture and an environment that spoke to me, that I 100% can support, and a space for other people like me to find their fit.
I love that. I love that you mentioned culture. So many times when it comes to opening a business or opening a salon, whatever, everyone's like, oh my God, look at my logo, look at my front desk, look at like this great paint color. And then, a few months down the road, they're like, this is a fucking shit show. What happened? And it's like, oops, we never thought about culture. So you mentioned it. So I'm going to ask, what does culture mean to you?
Basically, culture means to me is kind of, again, I could really care less about the paint color on the walls and what the logo looks like, to be honest. It's more about when you walk in and you feel like it's an environment that really speaks to your heart and your soul as well as your mind, that you know that it's a non-judgmental environment, that you could almost say anything because it's just easy. Easy for you to navigate, easy for you to live, easy for you to work. Not that life isn't difficult, but at the end of the day, you know that you're surrounded in an environment of support for one another because other individuals there are just like you are, heart, mind, body, and soul.
I love that. So what happens when you find that either a client or a stylist is part of your business and you come to find they are not a good fit for your culture? What do you do?
Well, you have to have a hard conversation, and because nobody wants to hear that they're not a good fit. We all, at the core of it, tend to be people pleasers. I myself am, but it's almost as if you're trying to, you rub each other raw and you don't bring out the best in each other, you bring out the worst in each other. And that's how you know when it's not a right fit, whether it's a client or a partner or a stylist or esthetician within your company, is that you really do bring out the worst. When it's a fit, you are bringing out the best in one another.
I love that. So why did you decide to get into on-demand beauty? What does that even mean? Tell us about this app and this concept and this idea.
From a hairdresser standpoint, I am all over the place. So I loved doing a little bit of education. I loved doing a little bit of freelance editorial work. I loved working behind the chair. I loved being a salon owner. I loved having freedom to come and go as I please. As a mom, I knew that prepping and preparing, and as a business owner, I was always the last minute. The last 15 minutes before I walked out the door was when the hair and the makeup on me actually took place. And I knew that there had to be more people like me that wanted to kind of do a little bit of everything, but didn't know how to have that balance. And so that's where Pretty Convenient kind of grew from, is a space, again, to allow people to have their own businesses, work behind the chair, but maybe they don't know how to do some editorial stuff. Maybe they don't know how to do some freelance stuff. Maybe they want a little extra money just because they want to go on a trip somewhere and they need a little side hustle money. And so I knew if there was me in this world, there's got to be more me's that have that varied interest. And so that's really how it grew and developed.
And how does it work? Do I, as a client, do I get to just go on an app and just order a hairstyle?
Yeah, it's that simple.
Is that like ordering pizza?
Yeah, it it is. Very much so. Very much so. But the thing is, we come to whatever location you want us to be at. So that's the easy part of it as well. But no, Pretty Convenient is an app that you can find in the Amazon, Google, Android, and Apple store. And you download it, you register as a customer on there. You pick the territory that you're in, you pick the services that you want, and then you get an immediate reach out confirmation within the next couple of hours from a human confirming that was the service you wanted, that is the location the artist is going to. And then I have artists that are generally, as we grow and expand, a 30-mile radius of wherever that request is located. So then also the artist isn't having to travel crazy distances as well. And they are fully trained, and they've got a kit with all of their supplies and equipment that I've provided for them in it. And then they literally show up 10 minutes prior to start time, get set up, come in, do the service, the blowout, the upstyle, the makeup. And then when they're done, they gather all their items and walk out. And I don't even have, for the safety of my team, I do not even allow them to collect money on site. Everything's built into the service, and it's paid 24 hours in advance. So there's no weird, awkward, okay, I had such a great time connecting with you, and now you have to go track.
Right. I love that. Now, you also recently opened a physical space. Yes. A new salon. Pretty Convenient extensions.
Yes. So one of the things that we do offer through Pretty Convenient is you can add extensions on site. But what I was finding is we were getting more and more people that were like, well, what if I don't want the clip-ins for my special occasion? What if I want something a little bit more longevity to it? And I found this, listening to the customers' conversations and what they're saying, they wanted more of it. So what I did was I actually found an amazing extension line co-branded with them, Fabulous Extensions, and brought those in. And so now we have a studio that we cut, color, and style, and do 3 types of applications: sew-ins, tape-ins, and hand-tied, the latest, no beads, the NBR methods. So that's cool. I've been having a great time with that.
That's incredible. So you've got this whole online thing going on, and you have this offline thing going on. So you've got to have so much wisdom when it comes to the similarities and the differences. And so that really brings me back to the Pretty Convenient brand. And I love the idea as the app, the name Pretty Convenient. It makes so much sense. How did you transition that brand into an offline space? What does that look like? What does that experience look like? What does that brand look like?
So everything that people love about the online brand, of being able to last minute appointments, to being able to do the extensions that we offer are made and designed to be, you might sit there for a minute to get the extensions put in, but it's a quick experience. It's still a laid back feel. When you come into the space, sometimes you might be the only person in the space getting your hair done. But it's to all encompass it through there. You're still getting the same services, so you can still get your extension application, but you can also get a pretty wavy styling, just so to keep it all seamlessly the same. If they're living in the app world, they're going to then at some point in time, they want to live in the real world as well. So you can have that space on its own. Also, what I found with the space has been really, really fun is co-partnering with a lot of local businesses. Like there's a subscription box that's really focused on finding your strongest selfie. And so cool. And it's designed for girls from 8 years old to 17. And everything about it is finding your purest and strongest self. So we do cool in-space stuff too for our location. We did like goat yoga just recently.
I saw that. Oh, my little babies. The little babies.
God. It was the whole time I'm like, am I really having to do yoga? And she's like, no, if you just want to cuddle with the goats, you can. And I definitely, there's something therapeutic about cuddling with a goat. I don't know what it is.
If I ever opened a yoga studio, there would be no yoga. There would only be goat cuddling. And we would raise money for the Goats of Anarchy. If you don't follow them on Instagram, shout out to the Goats of Anarchy. They are a goat rescue in
I
New
love it.
Jersey. I love them. That's awesome. So it really comes down to really having clarity around your brand, of course, which you obviously do. What would you say are some of the biggest lessons, successes, and lessons, challenges, struggles you've learned in both creating the online brand as well as transitioning into the offline brand?
Communication. I automatically assumed in the past that everybody I worked with and worked around with knew what was going on in my head. And
LOL.
My mother has a saying about assume, never assume. It makes an ass out of you and me. Yeah. So it's huge. And I honestly say communication. And it's an open line. And I tell everybody I work with and around that there's no conversation that shouldn't happen. And there's no opinion or idea that shouldn't be heard, because even my ideas, even with my team, I'm constantly like, what do you think of this? Or what is an idea? Or how are we going to make it better? Because at the end of the day, I'm not going out in the field and providing the on-demand services. I'm not in the studio doing the extension applications. So I could sit here all day long and come up with these great ideas, but if the team isn't feeling it and they don't feel they have the openness to communicate that to me, I think that's a lot of times when you get the walkouts in a business, or you lose the essence of what the brand really is supposed to be, because people at the end of the day just want to be heard. And clients as well. Yes. Clients just, you don't have to agree, but I think about one time we were sitting at dinner, and my husband and I and our kids when they were little, and the kids kept going, mommy, 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 as kids do. And because they just wanted to be heard. And my husband looks across the table at me and grabs my hand and says, thank you for being the mommy. Because he didn't want to have to listen to all the superfluous stuff, but he knew that I was listening to all of it.
It's so true, though. And I was actually just talking about that on an Instagram live last night. We as human beings, we as customers, clients, team members, we want to be heard, and we want to be seen, and we want to feel like we matter. And it doesn't take a lot to do that, but it does take awareness and presence. That's such a great reminder. Is there anything you wish you would have known before starting your first salon?
That it really is challenging. And it really is.
Yeah. Let's repeat that. It is really challenging.
And I am an optimist to the end. I think there is a rainbow to be found in everything. And so it was kind of one of those, when people looked miserable as salon owners or stylists or whoever, I was like, well, they just don't have a good enough attitude.
And now you know better.
Yes. Attitude is important. Don't get me wrong.
Totally.
But you cannot think of everything. You can think of a lot of things that could go wrong, but you cannot think of every challenge that you can go up against. And I think to provide yourself a little grace and forgiveness when you don't come up with, understand what every problem is coming at you, and you don't understand how to fix every problem that comes at you. Grace and forgiveness, I think, is the number one thing most salon owners or just individuals in the world need to give themselves a little bit more of.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I mean, we generally are our worst critic, and that is so important, is to remember that we are all human. And of course, also there's resources to help you, that you don't have to struggle alone. As you know, I share often that, it feels lonely, but it doesn't have to. And I mean, as a small business owner myself, I go through very similar challenges in terms of, thinking I'm in this alone and knowing that that's absolutely not true. How has purpose helped you with your keeping your brand on track?
Another word I call for purpose is a gut feeling. As if something doesn't sound good deep in my soul when it comes to somebody approaching me about, hey, do you want to advertise with us? Do you want to do a co-event with us? Who I bring into the team when I have conversations and interview processes, to the decision of, do we add this one service or do we subtract this one service? Really understanding and trusting my gut as to what this is supposed to be about. If it's not convenience, because that's what our brand is about convenience.
That's your promise.
If it's not convenient, if it really does require more than 5 clicks, if you're at the 4th or 5th click, it's not convenient anymore.
It's pretty complicated. That's another brand that someone else can launch.
Exactly. And I will happily business coach you into that.
So for anyone that's listening that wants to create the Pretty Complicated brand, Tracy's here. Tracy's here to help you. Oh my God, that's so great.
I love it. Who are you? The Pretty Complicated. What's your tagline? 5 clicks or more.
Right. It's so true, though. And, it's something that, we talk about often, the awesome client journey in both A school and S school. And, we don't have a lot of patience. And so, it is down to just a few clicks. And whether that's booking something from Instagram or going through a shopping cart online or, buying a book, whatever, we really have lost our patience if we had any before. We have none now. Any new advice for a new salon owner?
Dream about what you want your business to look like, and then find spaces to get the resources that allow you to fulfill those dreams. And if you can't find any of those resources to fulfill those dreams, and I'll use an example of, I couldn't come up with the names for their services. And I thought, well, what's some of the most popular services that get done? How can we make it? And it's funny because I actually went to Yelp and I looked at all the other blowout type businesses and what their bad reviews are. And I use that as kind of a litmus test of, well, if we can make sure the hair's not frizzy and that the style lasts all day long, then we're pretty good at what we're doing. And so there's so many, really research, really look into it. Don't just jump in because it sounds like a good idea. Take the time to hit every avenue. If people tell you they think it's a stupid idea, they're not going to be your customer, number one. So maybe you don't listen to those ideas. But if it's somebody that you really admire, talk to them and get business coaching. Listen and watch. The 80-20 rule. Listen 80%, question 20% of the time. Because when you quiet yourself, there's a lot of things that you can learn from the others that are around you.
Are there any Instagram pages that you go to for inspiration?
Well, yours, obviously.
I've recorded 2 podcasts today and asked that question, and you both had the same answer. And now that sounds like a total setup, which it's really not. So thank you. Shout out to @PassionSquared on Instagram. While I appreciate that so much, are there any other? That's what I should reword this question now. Are there any other pages besides, of course, Passion Squared that you go to for inspo of any kind?
I loved Gary Vee.
We love Gary Vee.
He's just so straightforward and honest. I love listening to him. Simon Sinek, obviously, I love his. I wish he was on social media more, doing even more lives, just because he's got such a great piece of wisdom to him. And then just reading, your reading list that you have is something that I've really taken to, and even the movies that you have listed on there, listening to all the previous podcasts. And then there's a couple of people local in the blogger world, because we do a lot of work with the blogger sphere. And there's an individual that she's a friend of mine. She's been developing podcasts, but one of her podcasts that we spoke on was the success of failure. And it's really neat because she talks to all different variety of businesses, and she doesn't want to know how you succeeded and advice you could give. She wants to know how you failed and came out of it.
I love it.
And so it's things like that I really do listen to and look at and think every day. And I do tend to kind of meditate, whether you want to call it meditation or not. I don't know. I don't know if like you sat me down in front of somebody that really does meditation, they would be like, no, that's not really what it is, Tracy. But just, I always try to find like 20 minutes a day just to read something that brings me back to the center of who I am.
I love that. That's your form of meditation. I'm down with that.
Yeah.
Whatever you want it to be. Oh my gosh, Tracy, thank you so much. Where can we find you on the internet?
Well, we have prettyconvenient.net, but then we also have Pretty Convenient on Instagram, Pretty Convenient Hair Extensions on Instagram. We also are on Facebook and Twitter as well. And then obviously anybody that wants to talk to me, I'm always open. We have Tracy Ftacek, Ftacek, and then contact at Pretty Convenient is another great email resource if anybody wants to visit and talk and DM.
Awesome. Wonderful. Tracy, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so grateful for you.
Thank you so much, Nina. I'm very, very grateful for just this opportunity and all the wonderful things that hopefully this helps somebody not feel like they're all alone in the world when it comes to the world of business owners.
Oh, I know it will. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone so much for listening. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. To learn more about Passion Squared, you can visit us at passionsquared.net. You can find us on the gram and on Facebook at Passion Squared, and be sure to subscribe and share with your friends. We're so grateful. Thank you so much for joining us. Have an awesome day, guys. Love you.